This is All Things Fitness and Wellness, uniting industry thought leaders and fitfluencers on the mission to inspire innovation and encourage people to live a life fit and well. Brought to you by the British Columbia Personal Training Institute. Learn how to train, gain, and retain clients. Visit bcpti.ca. On today's episode, we welcome Mohammed Iqbal. Mohammed is the ingenious mind behind SweatWorks, a pioneering fitness technology agency that crafts digital software and hardware solutions for the fitness industry. In this engaging podcast, Mohammed unfolds the chapters of his family's migration from Dubai to the Americas during his formative years. An intriguing twist of fate led him to a singular book that wielded the power to recalibrate his life toward a path of wellness and vitality. Mohammed candidly discusses his leap from the corporate world to channeling his tech prowess into the fitness sphere. On the episode, he seamlessly weaves together industry insights and forecasts, offering us a glimpse into the future trajectory of fitness. Before we get to the episode, be sure to hit like and subscribe. We have new podcast episodes weekly that feature industry thought leaders and influencers. Plus, we're continuing our gym and wellness haven tours, which feature inspiring founder stories. I'm your host, Chrissy Van, and this is ATFW. Well, I understand that you grew up in Dubai, and I believe from the little research that I've done here, it was the age of 11 that you immigrated. So can you tell me a little bit about growing up there and kind of what led to this huge adventure?
I think really it was driven by my parents, right? Looking to create a better quality of life for their children. So it was my sister and I, and my mom and dad, decided to come over to the Americas to find a better opportunity and improve our quality of life. And I think by and large, we've done that.
How was it doing that at that age? Because I'd say 11, we don't even know who we are. If anything, that's the most confusing question when you're just kind of coming into your own. So how did you navigate that? And in any capacity, did fitness play a role in helping build your roots when you made that transition?
Definitely. So my mom and dad were always active. And I think even when we were in Dubai, we were, constantly, involved in physical activity, whether it's playing soccer, swimming, karate, taekwondo. My dad loved to play squash, so we were just an active family. In addition to that, we went to an international school. So we were exposed to expats and their families and Dubai in the 80s, similar to, now in a much larger way, was largely driven and influenced by expats, right? It was this commercial and financial hub of the Middle East and kind of where a lot of companies launched, if they wanted to come into the region, they launched in Dubai. And I think similar is true today. It's just in a much, much bigger way. And then coming here and, kind of learning the culture. So at the time, a lot of the exposure that you've had to Western culture, Western ideology was driven by maybe some relatives that we had living in like England and Canada and the US, and also was a lot from movies, right? And like TV shows. And at the time it was the cartoons, right? So I remember at the time watching Tom and Jerry and Flintstones, the Jetsons. That was like my Saturday morning series or ritual. And when I came here, I don't think health and fitness initially played a role. It's certainly like I brought that with me here. I think it was a bit of the opposite. So I came in, and I love telling the story, is, we flew on Emirates to JFK, and I was hungry after a long flight. I come out of the gate and go through customs and immigration, all of those things. And the first thing we snacked on was Cinnabon, right? And I was like, okay.
The smell does lure one in.
The smell lured me in. I was like grabbing me there. I'm like, what is this thing? And then I had it. I'm like, I love America already. I've been here like for an hour.
Sold.
And I'm like, done. This is so much better because we have nothing like this in Dubai. So this is great. And now we do, but back then we didn't.
Sure.
And I think so. Like, I think the plethora of things that are available to us here that are now also available in Dubai, but at the time were not, like going to the grocery store and seeing all these choices and the availability of just snacking and foods were not there. So what happened between 11 and 13 is I ballooned up. I gained a lot of weight. I got really slow. I wasn't naturally walking to school and, wasn't in the heat. So I just wasn't active. like I was, and I became like unintentionally a fat kid, and not even knowing what I changed, what I did wrong, because it wasn't like we followed a prescriptive diet or lifestyle in the Middle East. It's just we just ate what we ate, but it turns out that it was healthy and it was natural and it was, low in sugar, high in fiber, high in protein, all of those things. We weren't thinking about it, right? So we came here, we also weren't thinking about it. So my mom's like, well, what do you want for breakfast? I was like, I don't know, Cocoa Pebbles, like, because that's what we bought in the store. And Cocoa Pebbles, because I initially got it because it had this little Flintstone toy in it. It was awesome. You put this thing in the water, this thing grows. Like, oh my God, I love this.
I know this toy.
You know this toy. You're
Of
familiar?
course.
You put in the water and it expands, and you
What
collect.
kid did not want that?
Well, there you go. You've got a smarter kid. And then 13 came, and I'm, now in middle school and high school, and trying to figure out, what's next, and how do I kind of gain control, because I wasn't happy with where I was. I picked up a book called Optimum Sports Nutrition, and ultimately that book, I think, changed the course of my health and fitness career. So I picked that book up in 93. It taught me a lot about macros and micros and the importance that they play in your diet. And and that kind of like led this whole journey that I've been on.
So I know obviously with SweatWorks, that's something that came later in your career life. So what was it in the corporate world that you were doing before? Was it something related after that book where something sparked inside of you, or a completely different foray?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think what that book did is that it really kind of taught me some of the fundamentals around really, health and well-being, right? And it got me active. It helped me think about, one, how can I get a control of my life? I made new friends. You kind of talked about the social aspect of health and fitness. So I joined sports teams and I started surrounding myself with people that believed in that same kind of healthy lifestyle. So it was heavily influential in high school, heavily influential in college. I mean, I joined track, I played tennis, I played rugby. So I kind of became an athlete. And, even though I went to like a Division III school, I think, you're Canadian, right? I don't know
I
if you
am.
have division. So like Division 1, right, is elite, but then Division 3 is just for fun, pretty much. And then I started working at Sharp, and I had this like 10-year career at Sharp, and all along, long work hours, but I always, traveled a lot, ate healthy, followed this healthy lifestyle. So to me, a healthy lifestyle was really an unlock. It one not only gave me my community, it gave me my friends, it gave me kind of like how I spent my spare time. It was my hobby, and it was always present. And it also propelled all other aspects of my life. It made me a better father. It made me a better employee, and really helped me in all these different areas. And as I'm working in each stage of my journey, people would say, you're going to go to college and you're going to gain the freshman 15. Oh, that didn't happen, right? You're going to start working, and you're not going to be able to maintain this lifestyle. You're going to start, eating out, and that's going to impact your lifestyle. So people always had these excuses, and I'm like, okay, well, maybe I'll become an excuse, but it never ended up happening because I just incorporated it as part of kind of what I do. So behaviorally, I just feel like this became part of my identity and what I did. So what happened was, when I was working at Sharp, was in the 2000s, I saw the rise of the mobile internet and the mobile phone and the access that provided. In 2008, you saw the growth of the launch of the App Store and innovation happening in digital, right? So mobile to me was one of the biggest innovations that in my generation, lived through from a technology standpoint. And I saw it disrupt so many industries. So in 2009, you saw the launch of Uber, came out, really disrupted how we thought about taxi services and cars. You saw Runkeeper as a running app come out. It was the first GPS driven app on the iPhone. So now you don't need a smartwatch. Which was like very high end at the time. You can use your phone to use GPS. You saw navigation, just change. So the App Store and the iPhone revolutionized a lot about just how we live life. But where I didn't see the change was in fitness, right? So then I would go to Equinox or go to New York Sports Club, and beautiful facilities, and operationally was fantastic. It gave me the equipment, but it didn't use technology to help solve for the issues that we saw in the fitness industry, right? For example, a lot of the data that was true then is true now. 18% of gym signups happen in the first of the year, right? Out of that, more than 70% of those new members leave within 6 weeks. That was true in 2009 and it's still true today, right? So, and the other area is you look at, endurance events like the Ironman or marathons, and there was just this elitist idea about it, about the entry into fitness. And it felt like if you weren't in it, it was hard for you to break in. And if you were in it and someone came to you who wasn't in it, just like, oh, just there's so much to do. Yes, diet's 80% of it, exercise is 20% of it. But what does it mean to someone that is in their 20s or 30s that hasn't trained their mind and their body to understand this? So I felt like technology could be a disruptor to helping people lead healthier lives. And after 10 years at Sharp, I said, look, there are some fantastic brands that are out there in health and wellness. What if I built a company that was focused on helping those companies use digital to reach new customers and help give their customers that they have a higher chance of success? And that was the start of SweatWorks in 2012, and we are in our 11th year now doing the same thing.
Fitness World's 16 British Columbia high-value, low-cost gyms are committed to helping people reach their fitness goals, whatever those may be. Exercise and movement play a pivotal role in supporting people's overall health and wellness, and it is Fitness World's mission to provide the facilities, services, and amenities to help you achieve your fitness your way. Visit fitnessworld.ca for more information.
I so appreciate stories that marry passion and then what you've honed in your mind as your expertise, because obviously you were very tech forward, but to have fitness, the thing that changed your life, and to know that this is why this job here has been so exciting for me, because I didn't originate in the fitness industry as all. I'm a conversationalist. I love learning about people, and I have such a passion for fitness because it's changed my life too. But the thing that impresses me the most is that people in high-level careers like yourselves, the CEOs, etc., so often have a root that you're still tied to so deeply. And it ultimately drills down to the fact that you want more people to experience, embrace, and hold on to these life-changing factors that fitness and wellness habits can integrate in your life, because it does elevate every other capacity. Like how you said, I had this dialed in. And so as you were progressing through every stage, you knew that was going to, if you apply those same principles of your consistency, your discipline to any other facet in your life, it's this ripple effect where you can exponentially become explosive. You've done that with launching SweatWorks. What were kind of your early elements that you tackled or trends that you saw then that still hold true to this day that maybe people in the industry just aren't executing well? Is there parts that we're just not putting together when it comes to the marriage of technology and traditional fitness outlets?
Yeah, I think a lot has changed. So one, just to kind of go back on what he just said, completely relate to that. And there's so many lessons from fitness that I've taken into business, such as not expecting immediate results, right? Like people will live in this world today where people want the perfect picture and they want to have immediate results now and a quick fix. And as you know, as someone who's been in fitness or covers fitness, that is not the case. Like there is no quick fix. You got to put in the work. It's got to be discipline. Yeah, and you have to repeat it over and over again, and you've got to commit to it. The same is true for business. So people that are looking for that quick scale up, it might give you that quick win initially, but it's not going to give you long-term sustainability. I think the needs of physical locations like studios and gyms today, and the challenges that they have are same but different. I think they're same in that 11 years ago compared to today, they didn't have the right people in place. So typically their staff, their management team, the execution team was focused on operations, right? Trainers, on equipment, on memberships. And culturally, the gym industry was really driven by putting either butts in the seats if you were like a bike studio, or people on mats if you're a yoga studio, or just driving memberships in. They were less focused on outcome. Right. And I think that unfortunately is still true today. They're trying to do more, but I think if you put more focus on the outcome and you understood people, you understood their goals, you understood their journey, what you want, how you can help them, you will keep a much longer lasting customer. But unfortunately, a lot of the outcome-based stuff was left on the member. If you're fortunate enough to be able to have access to a trainer and be able to afford a trainer, you build that relationship. Now the outcome is really on the ability of that trainer to help you succeed. So I don't think that has changed a lot. What has changed a lot are the tools and the ability to get there. So a decade ago, one, it was very expensive to go digital. It's very expensive to build a mobile app and to get data from the customers. And we also didn't have wearables. I mean, I have two. I have an Oura Ring and I have an Apple Watch right now. We had, in 2012, when I started SweatWorks, we had Pebble, which was, the first wearable that was out, but didn't capture any biometric data. That's kind of what we had, right? So today I feel like we know so much more about you, but the challenge now is I know so much about you. What do I do with that? So I think the problems in going digital and engaging a customer are largely the same, but how we tackle and approach that has evolved significantly.
Yeah, it's like we have a filtering issue. I mean, we do in our lives too, when you think of the access to information we have at any given moment. And then that would subsequently be the same for business owners. They have all the information, but how do I filter this to best utilize? You are someone, and clearly somebody that hires down the line in your team, that finds people that are very good at reverse engineering the trends. Like, I feel as though from what I looked at, you spot it and then work your way backwards and create the solution for it. So knowing how much your business has shifted in a decade, it's impossible not to if you are in that space, considering how even what I'm holding in my hand, this big iPhone has evolved so much in a decade. What do you feel the things are that you're kind of reverse engineering now that are going to be the tools that people should be getting ahead of if they want to be the early adopters, the leaders in the space right now?
Yeah, so right now, a lot of focus has been on AI. And I think the main driver behind that is, one, it's what people are very interested in. And I think it's also a really useful tool. And the cost of engaging in that tool has come down to where it's reachable and achievable, right? So if you think about AI 5 years ago, very few companies, we were doing AI 5 years ago, but very few companies could really afford it because the cost of implementing that was so high. Today, the tools have been much more manageable. But AI is a tool that we use, but the application, and I always start with the consumer. How do we help the consumer? Once everything we do has to go back to how does this feature or that application help that consumer live a better life tomorrow than they are today? And that is around personalization. So with all the tools that we have today, the thing that we are so focused on is hyper-personalization. And what I mean by that is I want the experience when you walk into a facility to be different than when I walk into a facility, whether that is presented on your phone or what we're recommending you towards or what we know about you or how we serve you. I think that's really it, right? Like, we are in the industry of serving our members, not the other way around. We are privileged to have them in our clubs, and that's the way that's the attitude that we have and the culture that we've ingrained. So I think, to me, right now, the most important thing that every brand needs to be doing is personalization. It doesn't matter if you are a boutique studio that has one modality. It could be a boutique studio that just does spinning. Well, personalize that journey for the customer so that could be based off of instructor preferences, music preferences, how often they come in, the type of classes that they come into, what you offer them pre and post. Learn more about them, and you have access to their data, right? I mean, and a lot of times, if you provide value, they will give it to you. They will give you that data. But yeah, I think that to me is the single biggest thing that we're focused on right now.
Well, just based on your track record, I'm sure exciting at times ahead at SweatWorks. But one thing that I noticed is, yes, you mentioned in the beginning of this podcast that you moved here because your parents wanted a better life for their kids. And I would say, I mean, I don't want to speak for your parents at any point, but I imagine very proud at where this journey has taken you. And I know that you're now in a capacity that you're able to pay it forward in people that you believe in. So what type of spaces from the investment side have really intrigued you in regards to fitness and wellness?
Yeah, that's a really good question. One, going back to my parents. So yes, I mean, I think it's two things. One, it's the willingness and desire to come here, but second is what this country has afforded, me and my family, is something that I don't think we could have achieved in any other country. So when I'm grateful to this country, and I'm grateful for my parents for bringing us here. My sister had an opportunity. She works for the government of California. She ran as a representative over there. I mean, it's just
Incredible.
incredible, yeah, in what we've been able to achieve. And by the way, Chris, we actually spent 3 years in Canada also,
Yay, whereabouts?
in Saskatoon.
Excellent. Did you
Um,
take the A with you? Does it ever end up on your sentences or you ditched
I
it?
spent 3 years there because my dad did his doctorate at the University of Saskatchewan, which I guess is one of the preeminent institutions for horticulture, is
Yeah,
because of all
there
the
you go.
prairie land. So
No
that's
shortage
his
there.
field, and he went there, and we went there with him. I think it's still a small town, but great memories. I mean, Canada, what a wonderful country, the nicest
Yeah.
people on the planet. So I had a great experience there. But I think so. Yeah, have Canadian. I learned to skate in Canada. I learned to play hockey in Canada. I became a CFL fan. Go Rough Riders.
Well, this is going to be embarrassing if somehow we end up at a skating event because I'm Canadian and look like Bambi on skates, but neither
There you
here
go.
nor there.
But no, it was I had a good time there. So I think in terms of like what I'm looking for and paying it forward, I am a big proponent of, the right type of immigrants and immigration coming here. And I feel like we should progress towards that. Any opportunity that we have to hire someone who's been an immigrant here and to really, help them, because I think being an immigrant today is very different than being an immigrant in the 80s or 90s. We've gotten a lot more complicated. The world has gotten a lot more sophisticated, and it's harder. Like, I cannot imagine coming as an 11-year-old into this world like now, right? Being an immigrant now, it's got to be scary. And there's so much to absorb and bring in that how do we help people coming here be successful? And I think, if you've done it, you can help them by taking your lessons and helping the next generation come up. But I think immigration, our own citizens that are here is an important one there. I think the next is entrepreneurship. So when I'm looking at entrepreneurs, there's been a rise in entrepreneurship, which I think is a wonderful thing. And a lot of people coming out of school, my son's entering high school this fall as a freshman, and he's taken a course in entrepreneurship. I think that's wonderful, right? Entrepreneurship as being a career choice was something that wasn't there. And I think it's giving young people different career choices instead of saying, go to high school, then go to college, then go work for a company. That is not a path that everyone needs to take. It's certainly, if I knew that earlier, I might not have spent 10 years in a large corporation. I might have taken this entrepreneurial journey earlier, but we were scared, right? It was a very scary proposition to do that. So I'm really excited about this new generation coming out that isn't afraid to go out on their own, that isn't afraid to try new things. And I think they have more resources and information available to them to help them do that. So we do make investments in the category that are focused on things that we believe in. So one of the things I look for is entrepreneurs that are passionate, like I am, about what they're doing. Not just doing something because it's a trend or because it's the right thing to do, I think, but rather who really believes in that outcome. Yeah. So over the last 10 years, I have to go back and look, but I believe we've invested in about 20, maybe 22 different companies, but all in health and wellness. And I think, we have a unique perspective because we're so close to the front lines and we're so close to understanding what might be emerging, what has a chance of success. And yeah, so we've been investing in companies, we've been investing in founders, and I'd love to continue that for the next 10 years.
Are there certain parts of the industry that you see as kind of the next upcoming, where really, if you were an entrepreneur, perhaps exploring ideas, that's where you would niche into?
Yeah, I think platforms really, really about platforms that help democratize access and provide access, whether it is to clubs, whether it is to digital content, is one I'm interested in. The other one are companies that are focused on the intersection of fitness and healthcare. So I think in order for us to solve the health issues which we have in America and around the world, it really takes a village, right? Not to use somebody, it does take a village. It's going to take investment from the private sector. It's going to take some great young entrepreneurs. It's going to take government to come in, insurance companies to come in. And it's a combination of all those forces. And we cannot operate independently to really achieve the type of change that we all are hoping and wanting for. And I don't think that's going to come from government directly. I don't think it's going to come from large companies directly. But I think we need them in order to have success. So I'm looking for those entrepreneurs, those companies that are excited about making the change and are willing to navigate the complex world that we live in today. It kind of goes back to the point that I talked about earlier around entrepreneurs who are in it for the long game and understand that in order to achieve change, you've got to put in the hard work, and it might take years to achieve that. And if you want to make change in our healthcare system today, that's not a 6-month or a 1-year roadmap. It's a 5-10-year roadmap to make that happen. So I'm looking for companies who are interested in that.
Well, kind of bridging off that, I know you've been involved as well with the advocacy efforts I know that are taking place in the United States. Similarly, here in Canada, it's our tax line 30399 that is problematic, where quite literally they need to cross off 2 letters from ineligible to eligible. But here we are, as you say, it is the consistency game. But you speak to it a little bit there, but why has it been so important to put your voice behind that and really elevate the message and gain more momentum towards bringing these changes to life?
Well, one, I think that if you're really in this industry and it means more than a business to you, which is true for so many people who are in the industry, they didn't come into this because they were looking to get rich or pass the time. People came into this because there were other pathways to get there. They came into this because I think people like you and I, right, where fitness has had a positive impact on our lives, and we want to find a way to share that with other people. Well, in order to do that at scale, you've got to get the help of government, because the market that we could reach is going to be limited, right? So in the US, roughly about 25% of people in our country belong to a gym. And that's the active population. It should be 80 or 90%. I mean, everyone should either belong to a gym or engaging in some sort of wellness. I mean, now in reality, when you look at people who engage in wellness and engage in, whether it's joining a gym or walking or any other activity, is closer to 45%. So it's good, but we got to do more. And it's when I look at data points that state, like, if 80% of our country just move for 10 minutes a day collectively, it's going to expand our life expectancy by 5 years. That is unfathomable to think about, right? All we have to do is just go out for a walk and just move. Anybody could do that. We're not talking about doing a HIIT workout 3 days a week. We're not talking about running a marathon. We're talking about going for a 10-minute walk, right? That's something that is achievable. Why don't more people do that? Why don't more people opt for healthier choices at the grocery store or when they're out eating? It comes down to knowledge. It comes down to access and knowledge. And the fact of the matter is that I think that there is segregation in our country when it comes to health and wellness. And there is, the haves and the have-nots, but it isn't always income driven, right? It isn't always because of income, but I think income and location does limit your ability to learn knowledge and to adapt healthy behavior. People that are around you also have an impact. So in order to reach those larger populations that our traditional methods might not be able to reach, you've got to go to government to do that. And that's why I think doing this advocacy work is so important, because government applies to everyone, and it gives us access, and it gives us access to funding, access to programs, access to other institutions and levers that we could pull that the traditional ways might not.
Yeah, because it is so true. We're a society of convenience. So the situation we're in currently does make a lot of sense to be in, because if you don't know how great it feels to go out for that walk in the aftermath, it's very easy to allow yourself to be distracted and let everything come to you with the way our society operates. But I think it is really hammering home that message. And truthfully, I think that's what attracted to me to the space as well. I was like, this is something I can put my voice behind and really believe in it, because not only the staggering statistics when it comes to chronic disease, for me, that was my catalyst. I had a type 1 diabetic dad who lost his life quite early. And for me, I witnessed a lot of the complications of that. And I know when it comes to type 2 diabetes, heart disease, stroke, you name it, movement and eating well are often the best ways to take down the risk factor. I mean, the statistics are there and very well proven. So I appreciate the work that you do as someone that undoubtedly has an insanely busy schedule to carve out time and space to propel that message. It doesn't surprise me about that you in that way, though, considering it's one book that changed the course of your life.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it is, right? So what, encouraged me towards that book by Michael Colgan, it still sits here on my bookshelf. And if someone else, what if I didn't stumble upon that book? And what if I didn't find that book or didn't read that article and did have good mentors around me to help guide me towards a healthier life and to help unlock so much that I've achieved? I mean, this really has been a gateway towards doing that and being able to share that message and tell someone that your road to a better life starts with movement, is really the message that we want to get across. And I think additionally too, I mean, if you just think about as a person that might be getting paid by the hour, by being out sick for a day, right? Because then, well, I mean, that's going to impact them too. But being in the hospital is going to impact them. The rising healthcare bills. I mean, I think there's so many, being a better parent, so there's, the impact is massive, and there's additional things around defense and military for the country that are significant as well. That is a whole nother podcast for us to go through. But that's why we build what we do, right? We do what we do to help people lead better lives. Initially, I just wanted to change one life at a time. And as we grew and our reach grew, it says, well, let's take on more, and let's start having a bigger impact on things.
Well, with that passion that's so clearly still inside, what excites you most looking forward for the future of fitness and SweatWorks? I know you spoke to obviously the things that are evolving in the industry, but I'm curious, when we all know that feeling when we're in a state of flow, going to bed at night and you have that buzz inside, what is that thing for you?
And the thing for me is just really impacting people. It really saddens me to see, the state of the country, and education. And I think, just like how for me, health and fitness is how we're related to this country. We live in such a divisive time, that, I'm in my 40s. I don't remember a time internationally where we were so divisive and it's us versus them, from a political perspective. And fitness is this unifying language that everyone can agree on. And there is no debate there. So I truly think it could be a great unifier. I think it could, again, just bring people together, because we live in these siloed and isolated times that seemingly, I mean, like whether it's through social media or other forms, they're looking at these lives of people that aren't accessible. Like, it's not accessible, like you don't, in order for you to live a good life, you don't need to go buy that designer bag or go on this, fancy vacation or live in this area or have the perfect family. You don't need to do that. You can live a better life today by just going out for a little stroll. And it's that first step in a long journey, that I want to get people motivated to start.
Well, I know the work that you do with your clients, partners, collaborators, and throughout your company. Surely you're part of that narrative that's making the change. Obviously, working in a capacity that's so data driven, you're helping the entire industry learn more about how to do things better. Because at the end of the day, that's what this whole point is. We're always evolving. We hope that we look back 10 years ago and think, hey, we probably could have done that a little bit differently, because it means there's room for growth. And I think that reverse engineering, you've got a good eye on the rear view mirror that's actually like propelling forward all of the time. So I really appreciate you carving out the space and time with me. I do leave every episode with a favorite quote and kind of put people on the spot. Sometimes they come up with their own, sometimes a fan favorite. So I assume it's not going to be something from the Flintstones or Pebbles ad, but I'm here for it, even if it was.
I have a lot of favorite quotes, but I think the one that I keep on going back to a lot is that you miss every shot you don't take. So feel free to take the shot. Don't afraid to do so. And that's kind of how we live by it, right? If there's an opportunity, if there's a chance to make a change, don't do that. I would say, another one, this is not a quote, but it's related to that. I just read an article, and this has been around for a while, so a lot of people are aware of this, but Steve Jobs, got started when he's 12 by picking up the phone and calling Bill Hewitt, one of the co-founder of Hewlett Packard, because he needed a part. And he said, don't ever be afraid to pick up the phone and make that call. So often we just send a message, we just reach out. But I think, again, taking that shot, taking the next step is something that I feel like we've gotten a little bit sheltered on, or there's some anxiety towards taking the next step. So don't be afraid to take the next shot, because you'll miss any shot you don't take.
Such valuable advice, especially when we talk about fear of failure all the time. But something that resonates when you say that is equally the fear of success. Yes. Sometimes when we look at that and then it makes you go, oh, but what if, and can I handle it? And all the questions of the brain. And I find it really refreshing when you hear from successful individuals such as yourselves that it's all part of the process, but showing up and taking the action, just like you did at the beginning of your fitness journey. I thank you so much. It was honestly such a pleasure to meet you.
And likewise, Chrissy, thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
You've just listened to All Things Fitness and Wellness. This episode was brought to you by Fitness World. Your fitness, your way. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe so you never miss out on hearing from industry thought leaders and influencers. We are on a mission to help everyone live a life fit and well.